Hello everyone. Hello students. I hope you are doing well and safe today. So today we are going to discuss about models. But before we proceed with our discussion, let us first read the different objectives of this lesson. So at the end of the lesson, the learners are expected to: number 1, identify the models expressing permission, obligation, and prohibition. Number 2, compose clear and coherent sentence using models. So those are the expectations that are expected of you at the end of the lesson. So what is models? So modals are help auxiliary or helping verbs. They may be used in expressing number 1, permission, second one, obligation, and the third one is prohibition. So we are going to discuss the different modal verbs expressing permission, obligation, and prohibition. So let's get started. So here are the examples of sentences using different kinds of modals. The first example is, I believe I can fly. Number 2, Cody must call the police after the incident. Number 3, Janine has to prepare for her exams. And number 4, Bernadette doesn't have to secure a permit for her to go out of her house. So you can notice the different words that are highlighted using red marks. So these words are called modals. But let us identify which of them are modals that express prohibition, permission, and obligation. Okay, so let us discuss one by one. The first one is modal verbs that express permission. What is permission? Permission is an act of giving consent or authorization. In stating permission, modals to be used include can, could, and may. So the first type of modals expressing permission is can, and the second one is could, and the third one is may. So you may use the following words when you express modals of permission. Okay, let us have the examples under this modals of permission. The first example is the modal verbs can. So can is used to ask for or give permission. You can use can when you are asking permission or you are giving permission. The first example is, can you give me your number? So this type of modal verbs can is asking permission. Number 2, can you help me with this? So this is also asking permission. How about number 3? I can do it if you want me to. So this is giving permission. Okay, so the next type of modal verbs expressing permission is could. So when do we use could? Could is also used as a more polite and more formal modal in asking permission. Okay, so when you ask permission in a more polite way or manner, you can use could. Okay, here are the examples. Number 1, I could possibly ask my mom to cook it for us. I could possibly ask my mom to cook it for us. So this type of modal verbs expressing permission is a more polite way than using can. Okay, the second example is, could I interview the mayor? Could I interview the mayor? And number 3, could you lend me your book? Okay, so again, could is used when you are asking permission in a more formal or more polite manner. Next, we have may. So you can use may when you want to ask permission. This is the most polite and more and formal modal used in asking and giving permission. Okay? More polite, we use could, but if we wanted to ask permission in a most polite and formal manner, we can use the word or we can use the modal verb may. Okay. Examples: medical practitioners affected by COVID-19 may now claim their financial support from the government. Medical practitioners affected by COVID-19 may now claim their financial support from the government. As you can see in this example, asking permission in the most formal or most polite manner. Next, teachers may now distribute the modules to the learners. Okay? Giving permission. Giving permission. Teachers is given permission to distribute the modules to the learners. And the third example is asking permission in a more polite manner. So again, the first two examples are giving permissions in a more polite manner, while the third one is asking permission in a most polite manner. Okay, next is, so those are the modal verbs expressing permission. So let us go back one by one. The first one is can. So we use can in asking or giving permission. While if we wanted to express asking or giving permission in a more polite manner or formal manner, we use could. While if we wanted to ask permission or give permission in the most formal manner, we use may. Okay, good. Next, the second type of modals is modal verbs as in prohibition. Okay, modal type of verb expressing prohibition. So what is prohibition? Prohibition is the act of disallowing or prohibiting someone in performing or doing something. Again, prohibition is the act of disallowing or prohibiting someone in performing or doing something. Or from the word prohibition or prohibiting. So you are prohibited to do something. You are not allowed to do something, okay, by prohibiting someone not to do something, okay? So what are the modal verbs that are expressing prohibition? So number one is can't, must not, and mustn't, okay? Remember that when you use modal verbs expressing prohibition, we use can't, must not, and mustn't. So those are the three types of modal verbs that expresses prohibition. So let us study the number one. Let us study one by one the example. Number one, can't. So when do we use can't? Can't is used in dealing with something against rules, laws, and signs. This is used when the speaker is not the one who sets the rules. Okay, can't. This is used when dealing with something against rules, laws, and signs. But this is used when the speaker is not the one who sets the rules. So let us take a look. Take a look on the examples. Number one is the company can't apply for motion for reconsideration. So this is a legal proceeding not allowing the company to apply for motion for reconsideration. Okay, can't. So the company is not allowed. But the speaker in this example is not the one who sets the rules or the law. Number two, you can't buy any alcoholic beverages due to liquor ban. So you can't buy any alcoholic beverages because there is a liquor ban policy. Again, in this example, the speaker is not the one who sets the rule. Like for example, the liquor ban policy. It's the government that sets the rule but not the speaker himself. So we use can't when you are not allowed to do something against the rules, signs, and laws, but the speaker is not the one who sets the rule. Okay, next type of modal verbs expressing prohibition is must not or mustn't. So when do we use must not and then mustn't? What's the difference between the two, and what's the difference by mustn't and must not and also cannot or can't? So, must not or mustn't is used in dealing with something that is not permitted. In this context, it is the speaker who sets the rule. Okay, so let's take a look at the difference between can't, must not, and mustn't. In this example, in must not and mustn't, it's the speaker who sets the rule. while in the first type of modal verb expressing prohibition, which is can't, it is not the speaker who sets the rule. So that is the difference between the two. So let us have the examples. Number one, you must not turn off your camera during online class. So this is a teacher to students. So this is in this example, the teacher is telling the students to use their cell phone, or not to turn off, not to turn off their camera during online classes. So it's the teacher who sets the rule. Okay, so in this example, it's the teacher who is speaking in the sentence. So uh, uh, the teacher is not allowing the students to turn off the camera during online class. Next example. Mustn't you eat the fruits inside the fridge? Mustn't you eat the fruits inside the fridge? So in this example, it is mother to child. It is the mother telling her child not to eat the fruits inside the fridge. Okay, so mustn't. Number three, Salome must not tell my secrets to her friends. Salome must not tell my secrets to her friends. This is boss to a colleague. So, Salome is the boss who is telling her colleague not to tell her secrets to her friends. Okay? So, in this type of modal verbs expressing prohibition, must not is used when the speaker is the one who sets the rule. Okay? Next type of modals is the last one. So we are now in the last type of modal verbs, which is modal verbs expressing obligation. So what is obligation? Obligation expresses commitment or duty. Modals used in expressing obligation include has to or have to and must. So when we say obligation, it is something that you need to do or duty. Okay? So what are the modal verbs that express obligation? We have has to or have to and must. So let us have the examples in this type of modal. The first one is has or have to. So when do we use has or have to? This is used when obligation comes not from the speaker. The obligation is set by an authority, rule, or law. Okay. So has or have to is used when the obligation comes not from the speaker, but it is an authority or rule or law that sets the obligation. Okay, so you use have or have to. Examples. Number one, I have to be in the airport before the flight departure. So in this example, it is the airport policy that you should be at the airport before the flight departure. So you have to obey, or you have to obey the rule of the airport that you have to be on. You have to be on time, or you should be at the airport before the flight departure. Next, number two, she has to submit her report on time. She has to submit her report on time. So this is a company policy that you should submit your report on time. Or sometimes it is done in the school when you have to submit a report. Okay, so it is a company or school who sets the obligation that you need to submit your report on time. Next, number three, the company has to pay retrenchment benefits to its employees. The company has to pay retrenchment benefits to its employees. So it is somebody or law or maybe an authority or rule that tells the company to pay the retrenchment benefits of its employees. Again, we use has or have to when the obligation comes not from the speaker, but it is given by as an authority, rule, or law. Okay? Did you get it? Next, we have must. So when do we use must? Okay, this is another type of modal verbs expressing obligation, but we use must when we express obligation comes from the speaker or from an authority. So in this example, it might be the speaker who is still telling the obligation or duty or an authority. So the first one is I must call my husband now. It is the speaker who is telling himself to call her her husband now. Okay? It is the speaker. Maybe the speaker is the wife. Syempre, okay? The wife because it's the husband who's going to be called on. Okay? Next, number 2, we must finish the report on time. We must finish the report on time. It is the speaker along with her group mates who is expressing the obligation to finish the report on time. Next, I must stay away from them. I must stay away from them. Okay, it is the speaker who told himself to must be away from a group of friends or from them. Okay? So, must is used when expressing obligation comes from the speaker or from an authority. So, it is the speaker who is telling himself about the duty or somebody from an authority. Okay, next is no obligation expresses the absence of commitment or duty as one may do it or not. So we use don't, doesn't, have to is used to express no obligation. Okay, when we express no obligation or the absence of commitment or duty, we use modals don't or doesn't. Okay, so this is expressing no obligation. So example, she doesn't have to attend the funeral if she is not feeling well. Number 2, you don't have to come to my office in person. You must submit it online. The employees don't have to come this morning as the activity will start in the afternoon. So this is modal verbs expressing no obligation. So we use doesn't have, don't have, and doesn't have and don't have. Okay. So let us have a quick review of what we have discussed. So again, modals are auxiliary or helping verbs. They may be used in expressing, number 1, permission, obligation, and prohibition. So we have discussed all these three together with their examples. Next, so again, let us have permission is an act of giving consent or authorization. In stating permission, modals to be used include can, could, and may. Okay, don't forget that. Number 2 is prohibition. Prohibition is the act of disallowing or prohibiting someone in performing or doing something. Models showing prohibition include can't, must not, and mustn't. Then the last one is obligation expresses commitment or duty. Models used in expressing obligation include has to or have to and must. Okay? So that's the end of my discussion. Thank you for watching and God bless everyone.